For Letsia, the sting of being overlooked was a familiar ache, but it had never cut as deep as the moment she discovered her boyfriend tangled in his bedsheets with her own sister. Humiliated and heartbroken, she bolted from the room, her escape leading her down the mansion's forbidden corridors. She stumbled blindly into a darkened study, and there she met Victor Russo, an imposing, enigmatic man who looked at her with an intensity she had never known. That single, forbidden encounter changed the course of her life. The situation spiraled into chaos the next morning when Victor walked into her lecture hall and introduced himself as her new professor. It was then Alessia knew she had fallen into a trap far more intricate than simple heartbreak. The grand clock on the marble mantel showed 11:47 p.m. when Alessia Moretti eased open the heavy oak door to Leo's bedroom. Her heart was pounding with that unique blend of nerves and excitement that comes from surprising someone you love. She had just driven 2 hours on rain-slicked roads, tightly gripping a small velvet box that held a watch she'd spent 3 months saving for. At 23, she was hopelessly in love, or so she had believed. The scene before her didn't immediately make sense. Her mind refused to process it. Leo, her Leo. He was entwined in expensive sheets with a woman whose dark hair cascaded across the pillow. But it wasn't just any woman. That laugh, a high, cruel sound, belonged to her sister, Isabella. Alessia's hands turned numb. The velvet box slipped from her grasp, landing on the floor with a soft thud. They didn't even stop. Isabella's eyes locked with hers over Leo's shoulder, and where there should have been shame, there was only triumph. Pure, vicious triumph. Alessia. Leo's voice was lazy, unconcerned. He didn't even bother to pull away. You weren't supposed to be here until tomorrow. The words felt like ice water in her veins. Not supposed to be here. Not, I'm sorry. Not, this isn't what it looks like. Just that she had disrupted his schedule. How long? Alessia's voice was a strangled, barely audible whisper. Isabella sat up, deliberately letting the sheet fall. Does it matter? You were always too boring for him anyway, little sister. Too invisible. I just gave him what you couldn't. The room began to spin. Alessia's stomach churned, and she stumbled backward, her shoulder hitting the doorframe. Leo sighed as if she were being dramatic, as if her pain was nothing more than an inconvenience. Look, we can talk about this tomorrow when you've calmed down. She ran down the hallway of the Russo mansion, past oil paintings of stern-faced ancestors, past marble columns and crystal chandeliers that cost more than her entire year's tuition. Her vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. Not here. Not in this house where she'd never belonged, where Leo's family had looked at her like she was temporary, forgettable, invisible. Her feet carried her down corridors she'd never explored, past doors she'd been told never to open. The West Wing. Leo had warned her once, casually, the way you'd mentioned bad weather, that his father's private quarters were off limits, dangerous even. She didn't care anymore. Alessia shoved through a door, desperate for somewhere to hide, somewhere to breathe, somewhere to stop feeling like her entire world had shattered into pieces too small to ever put back together. The room was dark, except for firelight flickering across leather furniture and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. It smelled of expensive scotch and old paper and something else. Sandalwood, maybe. Masculine lived in. She pressed her back against the door, sliding down until she hit the floor, finally letting the sob tear from her throat. That's a sound I know too well. Alessia's head snapped up. In the shadows near the fireplace, a figure moved, tall, broad-shouldered. As he stepped into the light, her breath caught. The man was older, 50 maybe, with silver, threading through dark hair, sharp features that looked carved from stone, and eyes that seemed to see straight through her. He wore dark slacks and a white shirt, with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, a glass of amber liquid in one hand. Victor Russo, Leo's father. She'd seen him exactly twice. Once at a distance during a family dinner she hadn't been invited to attend, and once in a photograph Leo kept in his office. Both times he'd seemed untouchable, dangerous, the kind of man who commanded rooms without saying a word. I'm sorry. Alessia scrambled to her feet, swiping at her tears. I didn't know. I shouldn't be here. And yet you are. His voice was low, controlled, nothing like Leo's careless drawl. Which means something happened. She should leave. Should run back to her car and drive home and never come back to this mansion or this family or any of it. But her legs wouldn't move. I found him. The words tumbled out broken. With my sister, in his bed. They were. Her voice cracked. He didn't even care that I saw. Victor's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. He took a slow sip of his drink. Leo has always been exceptionally talented at disappointing people. It's practically his only skill. The bitter honesty shocked her into a laugh. Wet, pathetic, but real. Sit. He gestured to the leather chair across from his. You look like you're about to collapse. I should go. Where? Back to that scene upstairs. To your family, who clearly doesn't value you. He raised an eyebrow. Sit down, Alessia. At least finish falling apart somewhere with decent scotch. She shouldn't. Every instinct screamed that staying in this room with this man was dangerous in ways she didn't understand. But she was so tired of running, so tired of being invisible, so tired of pretending she didn't feel like she was drowning. Alessia sat. Victor poured 2 fingers of scotch into a crystal glass and held it out. When she hesitated, he said, "It won't fix anything, but it might help you feel less like the world is ending." She took it. The liquid burned going down, stealing her breath. Good girl. Something in the way he said it made heat crawl up her neck. Now tell me what happened. Why do you care? I don't. His honesty was brutal. But you're in my study, crying over my worthless son, and I'd rather know the damage than wonder. Alessia laughed again, darker this time. Your son has been sleeping with my sister. I don't know for how long. Months, maybe. And when I caught them, he acted like I was the problem for showing up unannounced. Victor's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Isabella, the older one. Yes, the one who smiles like a knife. Despite everything, Alessia felt her lips twitch. That's her. He was quiet for a moment, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. How old are you? 23. And you've been with Leo for 2 years. 2 years of what? Being paraded around when convenient, hidden away when not? His words were sharp, precise. Let me guess. He never took you to family events, never introduced you properly. Kept you just close enough to feel wanted, but far enough to never feel secure. Alessia's throat went tight. How did you? Because that's what Leo does. He takes beautiful, kind women and makes them feel like they're not enough. It's a particular cruelty he inherited from his mother. Victor finished his drink and set the glass down with a sharp click. You deserve better than that. You don't even know me. I know you drove 2 hours in the rain to surprise someone who doesn't appreciate you. I know you're sitting here crying over a man who isn't worth your tears. And I know, his eyes locked on hers, dark and dangerous and somehow gentle, that you've been invisible for far too long. The words hit her like a physical blow. How did he see that? How did this stranger understand the one thing that had haunted her entire life? The feeling of being there but not there, of being looked through instead of at. I should go, but she didn't move. Yes, you should. Victor stood, moving to the fireplace. The flames cast shadows across his face, making him look both younger and infinitely more dangerous. But you won't. Not yet. Because going means facing what happened, means deciding what you're going to do next. What am I supposed to do? He turned, pinning her with a look that made her feel stripped bare. That depends on who you want to be, Alessia. The girl who accepts invisible or the woman who demands to be seen. She stood on shaking legs, setting down the half-empty glass. I don't know how to be that woman. Then learn. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides, close enough that she could smell sandalwood and smoke and something uniquely him. Close enough to be dangerous. You're already braver than you think. Coming here, running from that scene upstairs, sitting with a stranger instead of pretending everything's fine. This isn't brave. This is broken. Sometimes they're the same thing. His hand came up, not touching, just hovering near her face. May I? Alessia nodded, not trusting her voice. Victor's thumb brushed away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. The touch was gentle, devastatingly so, and it broke something in her chest. You're not invisible, Alessia. You're just surrounded by people who refuse to see. His voice dropped lower. I see you. The air between them crackled with something she didn't have a name for, something wrong and right and terrifying all at once. She was standing in her ex-boyfriend's father's study, crying over betrayal, and somehow this man made her feel more alive than Leo ever had. This is crazy, she whispered it, but didn't step back. Yes. His eyes searched hers. Are you afraid? Terrified. Good. Fear means you're paying attention. But he stepped back, putting careful distance between them. You should leave now, before this becomes something neither of us can take back. Alessia knew he was right. Knew staying was dangerous, But for the first time in 2 years, maybe in her whole life, someone had truly seen her, and walking away from that felt impossible. What if I don't want to take it back? The question hung between them, heavy with meaning. Victor's expression hardened. You don't know what you're saying, don't I? She found her spine and straightened it. You're right. I've been invisible. I've let people treat me like I don't matter. But you see me, and maybe that's wrong. Maybe it's completely insane, but I'm tired of pretending I don't feel something. Alessia. Her name was a warning. I'm 50 years old. I'm Leo's father. Whatever you think you feel right now, it's just pain looking for somewhere to land. Is it? She moved closer, reckless now. Or is it the first honest thing I've felt in years? For a moment, she thought he'd close the distance, thought he'd cup her face and kiss her and make every terrible thing that happened tonight disappear. Instead, he turned away. Leave now while you still can. And if I come back, don't. The word was harsh, final. Forget this room. Forget this conversation. Forget me. But as Alessia walked to the door, as she pulled it open and stepped into the hallway, she knew that was impossible. Victor Russo had seen her, truly seen her, and that changed everything. She didn't go back upstairs, didn't confront Leo or Isabella or any of it. She walked straight out of the mansion, climbed into her car, and drove home through streets that blurred with tears and streetlights, and the weight of everything that had just broken. Her apartment was dark and small and nothing like the Russo mansion. She dropped her keys on the counter, kicked off her shoes, and stood in the middle of the living room, feeling completely untethered. Her phone buzzed. Leo. Can we talk tomorrow? This doesn't have to be a big deal. She deleted it without responding. Another buzz. Isabella. Don't be dramatic. You'll get over it. Alessia dropped the phone on the couch and walked to her bathroom, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Red-rimmed eyes, smudged makeup, hair falling out of its neat ponytail. She looked exactly how she felt, wrecked. But underneath the wreckage, something else stirred. Anger. Real burning anger. She'd spent 2 years making herself smaller for Leo. Quieter, less, accepting his casual cruelty, his friends who looked through her, his family who never bothered to learn her last name. She'd believed that if she just loved him enough, tried hard enough, she'd finally matter. What a stupid, pathetic lie. Alessia stripped off her clothes and stepped into the shower, letting scalding water wash away tears and makeup and the ghost of Leo's indifference. When she finally stepped out, skins pink and raw, she felt scraped clean. Her phone lit up again, this time an unknown number. You got this. A photo followed. The velvet box sitting on Victor's desk. Her heart stuttered. She shouldn't respond, should block the number, and forget everything that happened in that study. Instead, she typed, "Keep it. I don't want anything from that house." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Smart girl. Then, sleep well, Alessia. Tomorrow, choose better. She stared at the message for a long time before setting the phone down. Sleep felt impossible, but when she finally crawled into bed, exhaustion pulled her under. Morning came too bright and too early. Alessia woke to 17 missed calls. Leo, Isabella, her mother, and zero energy to deal with any of them. She silenced her phone and dragged herself to the kitchen, making coffee she didn't taste. She had class at 10, advanced literature with a new professor, someone the department chair had been excited about. A visiting lecturer from some prestigious university, rumored to be brilliant and intimidating in equal measure. Perfect. Just what she needed. Another reminder of how small her life was. Alessia dressed in jeans and a sweater, pulling her hair into a messy bun. No makeup, no effort. She felt hollowed out, fragile, like one wrong word would shatter her completely. The drive to campus was mechanical. Park, walk, climb stairs. She moved through it all on autopilot, barely registering the other students around her. The lecture hall was already half full when she arrived. Alessia chose a seat in the middle, not too eager, not too disconnected, and pulled out her notebook. Around her, students whispered excitedly about the new professor. I heard he turned down Harvard for this position. Apparently, he's published like 6 books. My roommate saw him yesterday, said he's older, but attractive. Alessia tuned them out, staring at her blank notebook. The room quieted as the door opened. Footsteps, confident, measured. Good morning. I'm Professor Russo. Welcome to Advanced Literature and Critical Theory. Alessia's head snapped up so fast her neck cracked. No. Victor Russo stood at the front of the classroom, impeccably dressed in charcoal slacks and a black button-down, looking every inch the brilliant academic. His eyes scanned the room, professional and detached, until they landed on her. For one terrible infinite second, their gazes locked. His expression didn't change, didn't so much as flicker, but she saw the recognition, the shock, the same oh crap realization that was currently making her heart try to claw its way out of her chest. This course will challenge you. Victor's voice was steady, controlled, nothing like the rough intimacy from last night. We'll examine literature through lenses of power, desire, morality, and consequence. If you're looking for easy answers or comfortable interpretations, drop this class now. No one moved. Good. Then, let's begin. He turned to write on the board, and Alessia couldn't breathe. Couldn't think, couldn't process that the man who'd seen her fall apart last night, who touched her face and made her feel alive, was now her professor. This was impossible, catastrophic, wrong in every possible way. But as Victor began lecturing about forbidden narratives in classical literature, his words intelligent and compelling and devastatingly familiar, Alessia realized something terrifying. She didn't want to drop the class. She wanted to stay, wanted to hear his voice, wanted to be seen by him again, even if it destroyed everything. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. The next 90 minutes were torture. Alessia tried to focus on the lecture, on taking notes, on literally anything except the man commanding the room with casual brilliance. But her eyes kept betraying her, drawn to the way Victor moved, the sharp intelligence in his expression, the controlled power in every gesture. He didn't look at her again, not once. It should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like abandonment. When class finally ended, students packed up slowly, several clustering near the front to introduce themselves. Alessia shoved her notebook into her bag and headed for the door, desperate to escape before. "Miss Moretti, a word, please." Her stomach dropped. Around her, students glanced back curiously before filing out. Within seconds, the room was empty except for the two of them. Victor waited until the door clicked shut before speaking. "This is completely insane. A disaster, the worst possible situation." Alessia's voice came out sharper than intended. "Yeah, I'm aware. I didn't know you were a student here, and I didn't know Leo's father was my new professor, so we're equally screwed." He moved closer, and she hated how her body responded. Pulse jumping, skin warming, every nerve suddenly alert. "We need ground rules. I'm transferring classes. Don't." The word was firm. "That draws attention we don't need." Creates questions. So what? I sit in your class for 15 weeks pretending last night didn't happen? Yes. His jaw tightened. Exactly that. What happened last night was a mistake. We were both. The circumstances were unusual. It meant nothing. The words stung more than they should. Right, nothing. Alessia, it's fine. She stepped back, building walls as fast as she could. You're right. It was just pain looking for somewhere to land, wasn't it? Well, it landed. I'm good now. We'll pretend we're strangers. Easy. That's not what I. He dragged a hand through his hair, frustration cracking his control. You don't understand the position this puts us in. I'm your professor. There are rules, ethics, my career, your education. I said, it's fine. Her voice went cold, protective. I get it. You saw a crying girl and felt sorry for her. But I'm not your problem, Professor Russo. I'll stay up in the class because you're right. Dropping would raise questions, but don't worry. I know how to be invisible. She turned toward the door. Alessia, wait. She stopped, but didn't turn around. You were never invisible. His voice dropped rough with something that sounded like regret. That's the problem. Her hand tightened on her bag strap. Then I guess we both need to try harder. She walked out before he could respond, before the tears building in her throat could escape, before she did something catastrophically stupid, like admitting that one night in his study had meant more than 2 years with his son. The hallway was crowded, with students moving between classes. Alessia pushed through them, keeping her head down, fighting the urge to run. Her next class wasn't for 2 hours. She needed air, space, somewhere to breathe. Her phone buzzed. Leo again. Alessia, come on. We need to talk about this. I made a mistake. She almost laughed. A mistake like he'd forgotten to call, not destroyed her. Another message. Isabella, Mom wants you to come to dinner Sunday. Don't make this awkward for everyone. That did make her laugh. Sharp, bitter, drawing looks from passing students. Don't make it awkward, as if she was the problem, as if her pain was an inconvenience they all had to tolerate. Alessia found an empty bench outside and sat, tilting her face toward weak September sun. Her family had always been complicated. Her mother had remarried when Alessia was 12, bringing Isabella, older, beautiful, perfectly cruel, into her life. They'd never bonded. Isabella had made sure of that, treating Alessia like an annoying pet her stepfather had insisted they keep. But stealing her boyfriend, that was new, even for Isabella. You look like you're contemplating murder. Alessia's eyes flew open. A girl stood nearby, early 20s, dark skin, bright smile, radiating the kind of confidence Alessia had never managed, just regular contemplation. Alessia managed a weak smile. Right, I'm Jasmine. Jazz. I saw you bolt out of Rousseau's class like the room was on fire. That obvious? Only to someone paying attention. Jazz dropped onto the bench beside her. First day with him is always intense. Man's brilliant, but terrifying. Half the class is already in love with him. Alessia's stomach twisted. Yeah, well, not my type. Jazz laughed. Liar. He's everyone's type. Older, mysterious. Looks like he has extremely detailed opinions about whiskey and literature. Come on. He's also our professor, which makes it fantasy safe. Look. Don't touch. Stretched out her legs. I saw you in contemporary poetry last semester. You're Alessia, right? Yeah, thought so. You did that analysis of Plath that made Professor Morrison cry in a good way. Despite everything, Alessia felt herself smile. She was just emotional that day. She was moved. There's a difference. Jazz studied her with sharp, kind eyes. You okay? You look kind of wrecked. Alessia's smile faded. Bad night. Boy trouble? You could say that. Want to talk about it over terrible campus coffee? Or we can skip straight to agreeing all men are trash and planning their demise. The unexpected kindness made Alessia's throat tight. Coffee sounds good. They walked to the student union, Jazz chattering easily about classes and professors and campus drama. Alessia let the words wash over her, grateful for the distraction, for someone who didn't know about Leo or Isabella or any of it. The coffee was, as promised, terrible. But sitting across from Jasmine in a corner booth, Alessia felt something close to normal for the first time in 12 hours. So, Jazz wrapped both hands around her cup. Scale of 1 to 10, how bad was the boy trouble? 15. Damn, that bad. Alessia stared into her coffee. I caught my boyfriend in bed with my sister. Jazz's eyes went wide. Holy crap, Alessia. That's... Wow, I'm so sorry. The worst part? Alessia laughed, but it came out broken. He cleared his throat. He didn't even care that I caught them. Just annoyed I messed up his schedule. Okay, I'm upgrading from all men are trash to this specific man deserves to be launched into the sun. Jazz reached across the table, squeezing Alessia's hand. And your sister? Also trash. That's some next-level betrayal. We were never close, but yeah, didn't expect that. What are you going to do? I don't know. Alessia pulled her hand back, wrapping both around her cup for warmth. Everyone keeps asking me that. Like I'm supposed to have a plan, but I feel empty. Like someone scooped out everything that mattered and left me hollow. You're not hollow. You're hurt. There's a difference. The words echoed Victor's from last night. Sometimes broken and brave are the same thing. Hey, Jazz's voice gentled it. Take it one step at a time, starting with, are you done with him? Yes. The answer came instantly. Certain, I'm done. Good. Then step 2, block him. Block your sister. Block anyone who makes you feel invisible. Alessia blinked. How did you know? I feel invisible. Jazz smiled sadly, because I see that look in the mirror sometimes, too, like you're fading. Like if people stopped looking, you'd disappear completely. Yeah, exactly like that. Well, here's the thing. You're not invisible to me, and you weren't invisible to Professor Morrison when you made her cry. And you're definitely not invisible to Rousseau. I saw the way he looked at you when you walked in, like he was cataloging every detail. Alessia's heart lurched. You're imagining things, maybe. Or maybe you're more visible than you think. Jazz finished her coffee and stood. Come on, I've got comp lit in 20, but we're doing this again, tomorrow. Same time, better coffee. You don't have to. I know, but I want to. So unless you're planning to hide from me too, show up. Despite everything, Alessia felt herself smile. Okay, tomorrow. They exchanged numbers, and Jazz headed off with a wave and a promise to text. Alessia sat alone in the booth for another few minutes, processing the unexpected gift of friendship. Her phone buzzed. Not Leo or Isabella this time. Unknown number. I meant what I said. Choose better. Her breath caught. She shouldn't respond, shouldn't engage, but her fingers moved anyway. I'm trying. 3 dots then. Good, keep trying. Alessia stared at the message, something warm and dangerous unfurling in her chest. This was wrong. He was her professor. Leo's father. Off limits in every possible way. But for just a moment, she let herself feel it. That spark of connection, of being truly seen. Then she deleted the message thread and forced herself to stand, one step at a time. The rest of the week crawled by in a blur of classes, ignored phone calls, and carefully constructed normalcy. Alessia attended Victor's lectures, took meticulous notes, and never made eye contact. He called on her exactly once. A question about moral ambiguity in crime and punishment, and she answered without looking up from her notebook. Professional, distant, exactly what they both needed. Except late at night, alone in her apartment, Alessia couldn't stop replaying that night in his study. The way he'd seen her, the rough gentleness in his voice. The moment their eyes had locked and everything else had disappeared. It meant nothing, she told herself. Pain looking for somewhere to land. But if that was true, why did her chest ache every time she walked into his classroom? Friday afternoon, Alessia was leaving the library when she ran into the last person she wanted to see, Leo. He stood near the entrance, expensive jacket and careless confidence like he had every right to be there. When he spotted her, his face lit up. Alessia. Finally, you've been avoiding my calls. For a reason. She kept walking. He caught up easily, falling into step beside her. Come on, don't be like this. We need to talk. No, we don't. It was a mistake. Okay, Isabella? It didn't mean anything. She came on to me. Alessia stopped walking, rounding on him. Don't you dare blame her when you were the one who made a choice. Multiple choices for months, apparently. Leo had the audacity to look wounded. I was confused. You're always so serious, so intense. I needed someone easier, less complicated. Alessia felt her anger crystallize, sharp and clean. You needed someone who didn't expect you to actually care. Well, congratulations. You got exactly what you wanted. Now, leave me alone. Alessia, please. I love you. The words that would have broken her a week ago just made her tired. No, you don't. You love having someone who makes you feel important. But that's not love, Leo. That's just ego. She turned to leave, but he grabbed her wrist. You don't mean that. You're hurt. I get it, but let go. Not until you listen. She said, let go. The voice was low, controlled, and absolutely lethal. Victor stood 3 feet away, eyes locked on Leo's hand around Alessia's wrist. He wore dark jeans and a leather jacket, looking nothing like the polished professor and everything like someone extremely dangerous. Leo's grip loosened immediately. Dad, what are you doing here? Apparently stopping you from making another mistake. Victor's gaze stayed on Alessia. Are you all right? She nodded, stepping away from Leo. I'm fine. She's fine, Leo echoed, defensive now. We were just talking. You were grabbing her arm after she told you to leave her alone. That's not talking. Victor moved closer, putting himself deliberately between them. Go home, Leo. This is none of your business. You made it my business the moment you put your hands on her. Victor's voice went quieter, which somehow made it more threatening. Leave. Now. For a second, Alessia thought Leo might actually argue, but something in Victor's expression made him back down. Fine, whatever. He shot Alessia a look that tried for wounded, but landed on petulant. This isn't over. Yes, Alessia said quietly. It is. Leo left, stalking toward the parking lot with his pride in tatters. Alessia watched him go, feeling nothing but relief. Thank you. She turned to Victor. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. He was still tense, controlled fury radiating off him in waves. Did he hurt you? No, just annoyed me. I can handle Leo. I know you can. Victor's eyes searched hers, but you shouldn't have to. The concern in his voice made her chest tight. Why are you here? On campus onto Friday afternoon? Faculty meeting. He didn't look away. Ran late. I was heading to my car. Right. Of course. They stood there, the space between them charged with everything they weren't saying. Students passed by, oblivious, laughing about weekend plans. I should go, Alessia finally said. Alessia. Her name was rough. What I said before. About last week meaning nothing. I lied. Her breath stopped. I lied because it was the right thing to do. Because you're my student and I can't. He stepped back, rebuilding distance. But I need you to know, you're not invisible. You never were. Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, leaving her standing there with her heart in her throat and every rational thought scattered. She was in so much trouble. And the worst part? She didn't care. Alessia spent the weekend in her apartment, ignoring her mother's increasingly frantic calls and Isabella's passive-aggressive texts. Sunday dinner invitations had escalated to demands, then guilt trips, then finally threats about family loyalty and disrespect. She deleted them all and ordered Thai food, eating it cold from the container while rewatching old movies that required no emotional investment. By Monday morning, she'd almost convinced herself she could handle this. The Victor situation was manageable. She'd stay professional, finish the semester, and pretend that moment outside the library had never happened. Then she walked into his classroom and found him leaning against his desk, reading from a leather-bound book, and every rational thought evaporated. He looked up as students filed in, his eyes finding hers for half a second before sliding away. Professional, distant, exactly what they had agreed on. It felt like dying. Today, we're discussing forbidden desire in literature, Victor said once everyone settled. Specifically, how authors navigate relationships society deems unacceptable. Age gaps, power dynamics, moral transgressions. His voice was steady, academic. What makes readers root for couples they should condemn? Alessia's pen froze over her notebook. Was he serious right now? The forbidden generates tension? A girl in the front row offered. It's exciting because it's wrong. Is that all it is? Victor challenged. Cheap thrills? Or is there something deeper at work? Sometimes it's about seeing past surface judgments, another student said. Like, in Lolita. No, wait, that's a terrible example. The class laughed. Victor's mouth twitched. Indeed, let's choose texts where the forbidden relationship doesn't involve predation. Anyone? The reader? Someone suggested. Better. What makes that relationship compelling, despite the age gap and eventual revelations? The discussion spiraled from there. Students debating morality and attraction and whether context mattered. Alessia kept her head down, taking notes she'd never read, hyper-aware of every word Victor spoke. Miss Moretti, his voice cut through her fog. You've been quiet? Thoughts? Every eye in the room turned to her. She looked up, meeting his gaze, for the first time all class, and saw the challenge there. I think we romanticize the forbidden, because it feels like proof that connection matters more than rules. The words came out steadier than she felt. But that's dangerous, because sometimes rules exist for good reasons. And sometimes, Victor pressed, sometimes they're just obstacles we hide behind when we're too scared to want what we want. The silence that followed felt heavy, loaded. Victor held her gaze for 3 seconds too long before turning to the board. Both can be true simultaneously, he said, writing. The trick is knowing what you're dealing with. Page 94. Let's analyze the passage where. Alessia stopped listening. Her heart hammered so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. That wasn't professional distance. That was a conversation disguised as academic discourse, and they both knew it. When class ended, she packed up quickly, determined to escape before he could ask her to stay. But Jasmine caught her at the door. That was intense. What was with the way Russo looked at you during that whole forbidden desire discussion? Jazz grinned. If I didn't know better, I'd say the man has opinions. Alessia's stomach dropped. You're imagining things. Am I? Because the sexual tension in this classroom could power a small city. Jazz, relax. I'm teasing. Mostly. She linked her arm through Alessia's. Come on, coffee. You look like you need it. They'd fallen into a routine over the past week. Coffee after Victor's class, lunch between afternoon sessions, late-night texts about assignments and life, and everything in between. Jasmine had become the first real friend Alessia had made in years, and she was grateful for it, even as guilt gnawed at her for keeping secrets. The campus coffee shop was crowded, but they found a corner table. Jazz ordered something complicated with 3 extra shots. Alessia got black coffee and tried not to think about Victor's hands wrapped around a whiskey glass. So, Jazz said, settling in, how are you doing? Really? Better. It wasn't entirely a lie. The sharp edge of betrayal had dulled to a constant ache. Haven't talked to Leo or Isabella. Blocked most of my family's numbers. Good. They don't deserve access to you. Jazz stirred her drink. What about you, though? What do you want? Alessia blinked. What do you mean? I mean, everyone keeps asking what you're going to do about Leo, about your sister, about family drama. But what about what Alessia wants? What makes you happy? The question caught her off guard. When was the last time someone had asked her that? When was the last time she'd even thought about it? I don't know, she admitted quietly. I've spent so long trying to be what other people needed that I'm not sure who I am without that. Then maybe it's time to find out. Jasmine's smile was gentle. Start small. What's something you've always wanted to try but never did? Alessia thought about it. Writing. I used to write stories when I was younger. Nothing serious, just fragments, moments, but I stopped when my mom remarried. Isabella used to read them and laugh, call them childish. So your evil stepsister killed your creativity. Classic. Jazz leaned forward. Start again. Write something. Doesn't have to be good. Just has to be yours. Maybe, not maybe. Do it. In fact, Jazz pulled out her phone. There's this writing workshop meets Wednesday nights at the community center. Low-key, supportive environment. Come with me. You write badly, but I enjoy it and you'd be good at it. I've read your lit analyses. You understand story structure. Alessia felt something flutter in her chest. Hope, maybe, or possibility. Okay, yeah, I'll come. Excellent. Now finish your coffee. I've got calc in 15, and I need you to remind me why I thought a math minor was a good idea. They gathered their things and headed back into the crisp October afternoon. Leaves crunched underfoot. The air carrying that sharp edge that promised winter wasn't far off. Alessia pulled her jacket tighter and tried to focus on what Jasmine was saying about derivatives in real-world applications, but her mind kept drifting to Victor. To the way he'd looked at her during class, to the words he'd said outside the library. I lied because it was the right thing to do. What did that mean? That he felt something too? Or just that he regretted being honest about it? Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her pulse jumped before she checked it. Office hours Tuesday, 2 to 4 p.m. If you need to discuss your midterm paper. It was from the class listserv. An automatic notification. Nothing personal. Alessia deleted it anyway. That night, alone in her apartment, she opened her laptop and stared at a blank document. Jasmine's words echoed in her head. Write something. Doesn't have to be good. Just has to be yours. She started typing. Nothing coherent at first, just fragments. The way betrayal felt like ice water. The moment she'd realized Leo had never really seen her. The sensation of running through hallways that didn't belong to her. Then, before she could stop herself, she wrote about sandalwood and firelight and a man who'd looked at her like she mattered. The words poured out, raw, messy, probably terrible, but they were hers. And for the first time in a week, she felt something other than hollow. Tuesday arrived cold and gray, the kind of weather that matched Alessia's mood perfectly. She had back-to-back classes, a shift at the campus bookstore where she worked part-time, and absolutely no intention of going to Victor's office hours, except the universe had other plans. Her British literature professor caught her after class. Alessia, I need you to drop these papers off at Professor Russo's office. He requested your midterm draft specifically, wants to discuss your thesis before you submit. Alessia's stomach sank. Can I just email it? He was very specific, in person. Something about wanting to discuss your interpretation of the moral frameworks. Professor Chen smiled. He's impressed with your work. That's rare. Take the compliment. She had no choice but to agree. At 2:15, Alessia stood outside Victor's office, papers clutched in sweating hands, trying to convince herself to knock. The door was heavy oak, a small plaque reading, Professor V. Russo in neat letters. She could hear movement inside. Just leave them. Slide them under the door. Run. She raised her hand to knock. The door opened. Victor stood there in rolled shirt sleeves and reading glasses, looking unfairly attractive and completely unsurprised to see her. Miss Moretti, come in. It wasn't a request. Alessia stepped into his office and the door clicked shut behind her with a finality that made her pulse race. The space was exactly what she'd expected. Floor-to-ceiling books, leather furniture, a massive desk covered in papers and coffee cups. It smelled like him. Sandalwood and old paper and something darker. Professor Chen said, "You wanted to discuss my paper." She held it out like a shield. Victor took it, his fingers brushing hers. "I did. Sit." She perched on the edge of a leather chair while he rounded his desk, putting distance between them. He glanced at the paper, then set it aside. "How are you?" The question, gentle and genuine, nearly undid her. "Fine." "Liar. I'm handling it." "Leo hasn't contacted you again." "He's tried. I blocked him." She met his eyes. "You don't have to worry about me. That's not how it works." Victor leaned back in his chair, studying her with that intensity that made her feel stripped bare. "You walked into my study broken. I don't stop caring just because it's inconvenient. You should, probably. His mouth quirked in something not quite a smile. I'm spectacularly bad at should. Alessia's breath caught. We can't do this. I know. You're my professor? I'm aware. And Leo's father. Unfortunately, he stood, moving to the window. Outside, students crossed the quad, laughing. Normal. I've been teaching for 20 years. Never once crossed a line. Never even been tempted. Then don't start now. He turned and the look in his eyes was devastating. Too late. The air between them crackled. Alessia should leave, should run, should do literally anything except sit here drowning in the weight of his confession. Why me? She whispered. Victor was quiet for a long moment. Because when you walked into my study that night, you were the first real thing I'd seen in years. Because my son is an idiot who couldn't recognize what he had. Because when you argued about forbidden desire in class, you were talking to me, and we both knew it. Victor. I know all the reasons this is wrong. Believe me, I've listed them. But none of them change the fact that I see you, Alessia. He stopped, jaw tight. I think you see me too. She did. That was the problem. She saw past the professor, past Leo's father, past every label and rule. She saw a man who'd been kind when she was breaking, who challenged her to choose better, who looked at her like she was worth something. This can't happen. Her voice shook. No, it can't. I should go. Yes, but neither of them moved. Victor crossed the space between them in 3 strides. And suddenly he was right there, close enough that she could feel the heat of him, smell sandalwood and smoke and want. Tell me to stop. His voice was rough. I can't. His hand came up, cupping her face the way he had that first night. His thumb brushed her cheekbone, and Alessia's eyes fluttered closed. This is a terrible idea, he murmured. The worst. We'll regret it, probably. Alessia, look at me. She opened her eyes and found him staring at her with something raw and hungry and almost frightened. If we do this, he said quietly, there's no going back. It'll be complicated and messy and potentially catastrophic for both of us. Are you sure? No. She wasn't sure of anything, except that walking away felt impossible. I'm tired of being careful, she said instead. Tired of making myself smaller. You told me to choose better. Maybe this is better. This is reckless. Then be reckless with me. Something in his expression cracked. For one infinite second, she thought he'd kiss her. Instead, he stepped back, breaking contact. Not here. Not like this. His breathing was unsteady. You deserve more than a stolen moment in my office where anyone could walk in. Then where? Somewhere. Safe. Somewhere we can think clearly. What if I don't want to think clearly? Victor's laugh was strained. That's what terrifies me. Because neither do I. A knock on the door made them both jump. Victor moved to his desk, composing himself with visible effort while Alessia pressed a hand to her racing heart. Come in. A student poked his head in. Professor Russo. Sorry to interrupt. Quick question about the reading. Of course. Miss Moretti and I were just finishing up. Victor's voice was perfectly controlled, professional. He handed her the paper. Your thesis is solid, but consider expanding your analysis of consequence. Actions don't exist in a vacuum. The double meaning wasn't lost on her. I'll revise it. Thank you, Professor. She walked out on shaking legs, past the waiting student, down the hallway, and out into afternoon air that felt shockingly cold after the heat of that office. She'd almost kissed her professor, had wanted to, had been seconds away from doing something that could destroy both their lives. And the truly terrifying part? She'd do it again. Alessia made it halfway across campus before her phone buzzed. That can't happen again. She stared at the message, chest tight. I know, she typed back, but I want it to. 3 dots disappeared again. So do I, which is why it can't. Alessia stopped walking, gripping her phone tight enough to hurt. This was insane, impossible, wrong in every way that mattered. Then tell me how to stop wanting it, she sent, because I don't know how. The response took longer this time. Neither do I. For the rest of the week, they maintained careful distance. Alessia attended class, took notes, never raised her hand. Victor lectured brilliantly, called on everyone but her, and avoided eye contact so thoroughly it became its own kind of attention. Jasmine noticed, of course. Okay, what happened between you and Russo? She asked Thursday over lunch. The man looks at you like you're a live grenade, and you're acting like he doesn't exist. Alessia's stomach dropped. Nothing happened. Alessia, I'm not an idiot. The tension in that classroom has gone from interesting to someone's getting fired. Jazz. I'm not judging. Honestly, if I thought I had a shot with him, I'd risk it too. But be careful. The university has rules about this stuff for a reason. Nothing is happening, Alessia insisted. We're just. It's complicated. Complicated how? I can't explain. Jasmine studied her for a long moment, then sighed. Fine, keep your secrets. But Alessia, whatever this is, make sure it's worth the risk. Because from where I'm sitting, you look miserable trying not to want him. She was miserable. That didn't begin to cover it. Every class was torture. Every avoided glance felt like rejection, and every night she lay awake remembering the weight of his hand on her face, the rough want in his voice, the way he'd looked at her like she was something precious and dangerous all at once. Friday afternoon, Alessia was leaving the library when she heard familiar voices. She ducked behind a pillar instinctively. Leo and Isabella, walking together across the quad. She'll get over it, Isabella was saying. Alessia's always been dramatic. Give her another week and she'll come crawling back. I don't know. She seemed pretty done, because you let her be done. You're supposed to fight for her, make her feel special. It's not complicated. Leo's laugh was bitter. Right. Like you'd know about making people feel special. Excuse me? You heard me. You're good at games, Isabella, not relationships. There's a difference. And you're good at relationships. You cheated on your girlfriend with her sister. Because you seduced me. I didn't have to try very hard, did I? Isabella's voice went sharp. Admit it, you were bored. Alessia's sweet, but she's boring. No spark, no challenge. Alessia's hands curled into fists. She should walk away, should let them have their poisoned conversation in peace. But Leo's next word stopped her. My dad likes her. Silence, then. What? I saw them talking outside the library. He looked at her. Different, protective. Victor barely looks at anyone. You're paranoid. Maybe, but I've never seen him step in like that before. It was weird. Alessia's heart hammered. They were talking about the confrontation, about Victor defending her. Did Leo suspect something? Your dad is like ancient, Isabella said dismissively. There's no way. He's 50, not dead. And Alessia's always had a thing for older guys. Remember Professor Harrison last year? She lit up whenever he called on her. That wasn't even true. Professor Harrison had been kind, but Alessia had never. You're being ridiculous. Isabella sounded annoyed now. Alessia's not sleeping with your dad. She's probably holed up somewhere crying and eating ice cream. That's what she does. Cries and writes bad poetry, and pretends she's tragic. The casual cruelty shouldn't have surprised Alessia anymore, but it still stung. Whatever, I don't like how things ended. Felt wrong, so fix it. Apologize. Buy her flowers. Do whatever you need to do to make this go away before Mom starts asking questions. Why do you care what Mom thinks? Because, unlike you, I actually want to stay in the family's good graces. Some of us have ambitions beyond disappointing our fathers. They moved out of earshot, leaving Alessia shaking behind the pillar. Leo suspected, maybe not the full truth, but enough to be paying attention, which meant she and Victor needed to be even more careful or stop entirely. Her phone buzzed. Where are you? Victor. Her chest went tight. Library. Why? Come to my office. Now. She should say no, should maintain distance, should do literally anything except walk straight into the fire. 10 minutes later, she was knocking on his door. Victor opened it, pulled her inside, and locked it in one smooth motion. The room was dark except for desk lamplight, curtains drawn. What's wrong? Alessia asked. Leo came to see me today. Her stomach plummeted. What did he say? That he's worried about you, that you won't return his calls, that he thinks I might have. Victor stopped, jaw tight. Insight into your state of mind. Did he suspect anything? I don't think so, but he's paying attention. Watching. Victor moved to his desk, pouring whiskey into 2 glasses with hands weren't quite steady. I told him to leave you alone, that you'd made your choice clear. How did he take that? Poorly. He's convinced you're being dramatic, that you'll come around. Alessia took the offered glass, the crystal cold against her palm. I heard him and Isabella talking. They think I'm pathetic. Crying somewhere, writing bad poetry. Their opinion of you matters exactly 0. Victor's voice was fierce. You know that, right? Intellectually, yes. Emotionally. She sipped the whiskey, welcoming the burn. It's harder. He moved close enough that she could see the exhaustion around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. I can't do this. Her chest constricted. I know. Not the wanting you part. That ship sailed. His hand came up, cupping her face. But the pretending, the distance, watching you sit in my class every day and acting like you don't undo me. Victor, I'm 50 years old. I've spent 20 years teaching, maintaining boundaries, following every rule. And then you walked into my study with your heartbreak, and everything I thought I knew became irrelevant. Alessia's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm tired of fighting this. I'm saying consequences be damned. I want you. And I think his thumb brushed her lower lip. I think you want me too. She did, more than was safe or smart or remotely sane. This will ruin things. Her voice came out whispered. Your career, my education, everything. I know. People will judge. They'll say terrible things. Let them. Leo will lose his mind. Good. Victor's smile was dark. My son deserves to lose something. Preferably his arrogance. Alessia laughed despite everything. The sound startled out of her. This is crazy. Completely. He leaned his forehead against hers, breathing her in. Tell me to stop. Tell me this is a mistake and walk away. I'll let you go. I promise. She should. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was wrong, dangerous, destined for disaster. But the rest of her, the part that had been invisible for so long, that had accepted scraps and called out love, that had never been brave enough to want what she actually wanted. That part was done listening to logic. I don't want you to stop. She tilted her face up, lips inches from his. I want to be reckless. I want to choose something just because it feels right. Even if it's wrong, I want. He kissed her. The world narrowed to the pressure of his mouth, the taste of whiskey and want, the way his hands tangled in her hair like he was trying to memorize her. It wasn't gentle, wasn't careful. It was raw and desperate and absolutely inevitable. Alessia's back hit the bookshelf as Victor pressed against her. One hand braced beside her head, the other still cupped around her face. She kissed him back with everything she had, all her anger and hurt and loneliness and hope. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were dark with something that made her shiver. Tell me you're sure. His voice was wrecked. Because after this, there's no pretending. I'm sure, Alessia. I'm 23, not a child. I know what I'm choosing. She grabbed his shirt, pulling him back. And I'm choosing you. He kissed her again. Slower this time. Thorough, like he had all the time in the world, and planned to use it, learning every way to make her melt. When his hand slid under her sweater, skimming warm skin, Alessia gasped against his mouth. Not here, he murmured. Not in my office where anyone could. A sharp knock on the door froze them both. Professor Russo, it's Dean Morrison. I need a word. They sprang apart like scalded cats. Victor straightened his shirt, running a hand through disheveled hair while Alessia pressed herself into the corner behind the bookshelf. One moment, his voice was impressively steady. He crossed to his desk, grabbed random papers, and opened the door just wide enough to be polite without inviting entry. Dean Morrison, what can I do for you? Quick question about the curriculum review. Do you have a few minutes? Actually, I was just heading out. Office hours ended 10 minutes ago. This won't take long. How about we schedule something Monday? I've got a prior commitment. Alessia held her breath, pressed against books that smelled like dust and secrets. All right, Monday it is. Have a good weekend, Victor. You too. The door closed, locked. Victor stood there for 5 full seconds before turning. That was close. Too close. Alessia's hands were shaking. We can't do this here. You were right. Anyone could. I know. He crossed to her, pulling her into his arms, just holding her. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize for kissing me. I'm apologizing for losing control. He pressed his lips to her hair. You deserve better than hiding in my office. Then where? Victor was quiet for a moment. I have a place outside the city. No one knows about it. It's where I go when I need to think, to be away from everything. Are you asking me to go with you tomorrow? If you want, we can talk. Figure out what this is without worrying about who might see. Alessia pulled back to look at him. His face was open, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. Okay, yes, his smile was small but real. I'll pick you up at 10. Wear something comfortable. And Alessia? Yeah? Don't tell anyone where you're going. The lie came easier than Alessia expected. She texted Jasmine Saturday morning saying she was going home for the weekend to deal with family drama, then turned off her phone's location services and tried not to think about how quickly she'd learned to deceive. Victor picked her up 3 blocks from her apartment at exactly 10, driving a nondescript sedan instead of the sleek Mercedes she'd seen parked in the faculty lot. Smart, careful, the kind of detail that reminded her this wasn't some impulsive romance. They were actively hiding. Second thoughts? He asked as she climbed in. About a dozen. Alessia buckled her seatbelt, but I'm here anyway. He smiled, pulling into traffic. That's either very brave or very stupid. Why not both? They drove in silence for a while, leaving the city behind for winding roads that cut through forests just starting to turn gold and crimson. Alessia watched the landscape blur past and tried to calm her racing heart. She was alone with Victor, completely alone. No students, no dean, no Leo hovering at the edges, just them and whatever this dangerous thing between them was becoming. Where exactly is this place, she asked. About 90 minutes north. I bought it 5 years ago after my divorce. Needed somewhere to clear my head. He glanced at her. I haven't brought anyone here before. The admission made her chest tight. What about Leo? Does he know about it? No one knows. That's the point. Victor's hands tightened on the wheel. I grew up in a world where privacy was a commodity. Everything watched, judged, used against you. This place is mine. The only thing that's ever been just mine. Alessia heard what he wasn't saying, that bringing her here meant something, that this wasn't casual or careless, that he was with a piece of himself he'd never shown anyone. Thank you, she said quietly, for sharing it with me. He reached over, lacing his fingers through hers. Thank you for coming. They drove deeper into the mountains, the road narrowing to gravel, then dirt. Trees pressed close on both sides, blocking out most of the sky. Finally, Victor turned onto an unmarked path that opened into a clearing. The cabin was small, maybe 2 rooms, built from dark wood that had weathered to silver. A stone chimney rose from one end, and a wide porch wrapped around the front. It sat beside a lake, so still it looked like glass, reflecting clouds and trees in perfect symmetry. It's beautiful. Alessia stepped out of the car, breathing in pine and clean water and autumn. It's quiet. Victor grabbed a bag from the trunk. No neighbors for miles, no internet. Cell service is spotty at best, just space. They walked to the cabin together, and he unlocked the door with an old iron key. Inside was exactly what she'd expected. Worn leather furniture, a stone fireplace, shelves crammed with books, a small kitchen that looked rarely used. Everything was neat but lived in, comfortable in a way the Russo mansion could never be. There's only one bedroom, Victor said, setting down the bag. I can sleep on the couch if you'd prefer. Victor, Alessia turned to face him. We drove 90 minutes to be alone together. I think we're past pretending. Something in his expression shifted. Relief, maybe. Raw hunger, barely leashed. I need you to understand what this means. He moved closer, not touching, but close enough. If we do this, really do this, there's no going back. We'll have to hide, risk everything if someone finds out. Your education, my career, all of it. I know. Do you? Because I'm not talking about a few stolen moments. I'm talking about a relationship that could destroy us both if it comes to light. Alessia had spent the entire drive thinking about exactly that. The risks, the consequences, the absolute insanity of wanting your ex-boyfriend's father. But she'd also thought about invisibility, about spending 2 years making herself smaller for someone who never saw her, about the choice between safe and real. I spent my whole life being careful, she said. Being what other people needed, quiet when they wanted quiet, invisible when they wanted me gone. And where did it get me? Cheated on with my own sister by someone who thought I was boring. You're not boring. I know that now because you showed me. She stepped closer, closing the distance. You saw me when no one else did. You made me feel like I mattered. And maybe that's dangerous. Maybe it's wrong, but I'd rather have something real and complicated than safe and empty. Victor's hand came up, cupping her face. You're 23. You should be with someone your own age, someone without a past that could bury you. Is that what you want? For me to leave? No. The word was rough, honest. I want to be selfish. Want to keep you here and damn the consequences, but I also want what's best for you, and I'm not sure that's me. Alessia turned her face into his palm, kissing it. Let me decide what's best for me. He made a sound low in his throat, and then his mouth was on hers. All the careful control from yesterday was gone. This kiss was claiming, desperate, filled with weeks of wanting and fighting and pretending. Alessia kissed him back just as fiercely, hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. They stumbled backward until her shoulders hit the wall, and Victor braced his hands on either side of her head, kissing her like he was drowning, and she was air. When he finally pulled back, both breathing hard, his eyes were dark with want. Bedroom, he managed, before I take you against this wall like some reckless kid. Alessia laughed breathlessly. I wouldn't mind. I would. You deserve better than fast and thoughtless. He took her hand, leading her through the cabin. I planned to take my time. The bedroom was simple. A large bed with dark sheets, windows overlooking the lake. Nothing fancy. Victor pulled her inside and shut the door, even though they were completely alone, like closing out the world made this more real. Last chance to change your mind, he said, thumbs stroking her wrists where he held them. We can stop right now. Spend the day talking. Go back to the city. Pretend this didn't happen. I don't want to pretend anymore. Alessia pulled her sweater over her head, dropping it on the floor. Do you? His answer was kissing her again, backing her toward the bed, hands learning the shape of her through layers of clothing. When the backs of her knees hit the mattress, she sat and Victor followed her down, covering her body with his. What happened next was slow and deliberate, and nothing like the fumbling encounters she'd had with Leo. Victor touched her like he was memorizing every response, every gasp, every place that made her arch into him. He took his time stripping away clothes, kissing newly exposed skin, murmuring things in Italian she didn't understand but felt in her bones. When he finally pressed into her, both of them gasping, Alessia understood why people did stupid things for a connection like this. It wasn't just physical. It was being seen completely, known thoroughly, chosen absolutely. It was Victor's eyes locked on hers, his hands gentle even as his body demanded, his voice rough when he said her name like a prayer. After, they lay tangled together, afternoon light slanting across the bed, neither speaking. Alessia traced patterns on his chest, counting heartbeats, memorizing the feel of this moment before reality came crashing back. What are you thinking? Victor asked finally, his fingers trailing up and down her spine. That this is the most reckless thing I've ever done. Regret it? Not even a little. She propped herself up on one elbow, looking at him. What about you? I'm thinking I should regret it, should feel guilty. But all I feel is, he stopped, jaw working, relief. Like I've been holding my breath for weeks and can finally exhale. Alessia kissed him softly. Tell me about your divorce. He tensed slightly. That's what you want to talk about right now? I want to know you, the real you, not Professor Russo. She settled against his shoulder. You said you bought this place after. What happened? Victor was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Her name was Catherine. We married young. I was 25. She was 23. My father arranged it. Good family, proper connections, all very respectable. That doesn't sound romantic. It wasn't. But I was young and stupid and thought I could make it work. We had Leo a year later, and for a while I convinced myself we were happy. But Catherine wanted a life I couldn't give her. Society events, endless parties, the kind of visibility that made my skin crawl. And I wanted, he laughed bitterly. I wanted to teach, to read, to have conversations that mattered. We were fundamentally incompatible. What changed? Leo turned 16, and Catherine informed me she'd been having an affair for 10 years. Multiple affairs, actually, with friends, colleagues, whoever caught her interest. His voice was carefully neutral. She said she'd stayed for Leo's sake, but now that he was older, there was no point pretending anymore. Alessia's chest ached. I'm sorry. Don't be. We were both miserable. The divorce was civil, even friendly. She got the house. I got my freedom. He pressed a kiss to her hair, but it taught me something important. That being alone is better than being invisible in your own life. The word hit her like a punch. Is that how you felt? Invisible? For 20 years, he tilted her face up to meet his eyes, until a crying girl stumbled into my study and reminded me what it felt like to actually see someone, to be seen. We're a mess, Alessia whispered. Completely. He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. But maybe that's okay. They spent the rest of the afternoon in bed, talking and touching and learning each other in ways that had nothing to do with sex. Victor told her about growing up in a family that valued power over people, about choosing academia as an escape, about the strange loneliness of being respected but never known. Alessia told him about her mother's remarriage, about Isabella's casual cruelty, about writing stories she'd never shown anyone because they felt too revealing. As evening approached, Victor made dinner. Pasta with mushrooms and wine that tasted expensive, and they ate on the porch overlooking the lake. The temperature had dropped, and Alessia wore one of his sweaters that hung to her knees. I could stay here forever, she said, watching stars appear one by one. We have until tomorrow night. He pulled her against his chest. Then we go back to the real world and figure out how to do this. without getting caught. The reminder settled over them like a weight. Tomorrow meant returning to careful distance, to professor and student, to hiding whatever this was becoming. How do we do that? Alessia asked. Pretend nothing's changed. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. His arms tightened around her. I'm not giving this up, not giving you up. They went back inside as the night grew cold, building a fire and curling up on the couch with more wine and easy silence. Alessia felt happier than she had in years, maybe ever. Not because everything was perfect, but because it was real, complicated, and messy, and absolutely real. Her phone buzzed somewhere in her bag. She'd turned it back on to check the time and forgotten to silence it again. Leave it, Victor murmured against her neck. It might be important. She dug it out, and her stomach dropped at the 17 missed calls. Leo, Isabella, her mother, Jasmine, even numbers she didn't recognize. What's wrong? Victor sat up, reading her expression. Alessia opened her messages and felt the blood drain from her face. The most recent was from Jasmine, sent an hour ago. Where are you? Campus is going crazy. Someone posted photos of you and Russo. Alessia, call me. Attached was a screenshot, grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. Alessia and Victor outside his office yesterday, his hand on her face, their bodies too close to be anything innocent. We've been exposed, her voice came out strangled. Victor took the phone, his expression going carefully blank as he read. When was this taken? Yesterday, before the dean came. Someone must have seen us through the window, or her hands started shaking. Victor, this is all over campus. Everyone knows. He was already scrolling through messages, his face getting harder with each one. The dean wants to see me Monday morning. The department chair, campus security. What are we going to do? I don't know. He set the phone down, running both hands through his hair. This is bad, really bad. Alessia felt panic clawing at her throat. Maybe we can explain. Say it was taken out of context. Alessia. He looked at her and she saw fear there for the first time. That photo shows exactly what it looks like. There's no explaining it away. So what? We just. What? Admit it? You'll lose your job. I'll be expelled. Everything we worried about is happening. His voice was flat, because I was careless. Because I let my guard down for 5 seconds and someone was watching. The weight of it crashed over her. The scandal, the judgment, the absolute destruction this would bring down on both of them. Her family would disown her. His career would be over. Leo would. Oh God, Leo. Alessia pressed a hand to her mouth. He's called me 12 times. He knows. Victor's jaw clenched. Let him know. I stopped caring about my son's opinion a long time ago, but this will destroy you. Maybe. Or maybe it'll finally force me to stop hiding. He pulled her against him, fierce and protective. Listen to me. Whatever happens, we face it together. You're not alone in this. I got you into this. We got each other into this, and I don't regret it. He tilted her face up, forcing her to meet his eyes. Do you regret this? She should regret every choice that led to this moment. But looking at him, feeling his arms around her, knowing he was willing to face the wreckage with her, no, I don't regret it. Then we deal with the consequences. His kiss was gentle, at odds with the storm building around them. Tomorrow we go back. We tell the truth and we let the chips fall where they may. What if they fire you? Then I find another job, another university, hell, another country if necessary. What if my family disowns me? Then they never deserved you in the first place. He cupped her face in both hands. Alessia, I know this is terrifying, but I also know I'm not letting you go. Whatever comes next, we face it together. She wanted to believe him, wanted to think love, because that's what this was becoming. She could feel it, was enough to weather the scandal bearing down on them. But the messages kept coming, each one worse than the last. Her mother, call me immediately. What have you done? Isabella, you're sleeping with Victor Russo? Are you insane? Leo is losing his mind. A classmate she barely knew. Everyone's talking about you. How long has this been going on? And finally, worst of all, from the university. Miss Moretti, you are required to meet with the Dean of Students Monday at 9 a.m. regarding allegations of inappropriate conduct. Failure to appear will result in disciplinary action. They're going to destroy us. Alessia's voice broke. Probably. Victor took the phone and turned it off. But not tonight. Tonight we're still here, still together. Let tomorrow worry about itself. He was right. But sleep felt impossible. They lay in bed holding each other, watching shadows flicker across the ceiling, both pretending they weren't terrified of what Monday would bring. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, Alessia finally spoke. Tell me something true. Something you've never told anyone. Victor was quiet for a moment. I was relieved when Catherine left. Not because I didn't love her. I did, in my own broken way. But because I was so tired of pretending to be someone I wasn't, someone polished and social and comfortable with the kind of power my family wielded. His fingers traced patterns on her shoulder. I've spent my whole life trying to be good, honorable, following every rule because I was terrified of becoming like my father. And then you walked into my life and made me want to be reckless for the first time in 50 years. Alessia's throat went tight. Your turn, Victor said. Something true. I used to think there was something wrong with me, that I was too much or not enough, or just fundamentally unlovable. Leo never said it outright, but I felt it, like I was this obligation he'd accepted but never really wanted. She turned in his arms to face him. But with you, I feel wanted, chosen, like I'm exactly enough. You are. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her mouth. More than enough. They made love again, slower this time, tinged with desperation, because they both knew everything was about to change. When Alessia finally fell asleep just before dawn, it was to the sound of Victor's heartbeat, and the terrible certainty that this might be the last peaceful night they'd have for a very long time. Morning came too soon and too bright. Alessia woke to find Victor already dressed, making coffee in the kitchen. His face was set in hard lines, all the softness from last night locked away. We should go back early, he said without preamble. Face this before it gets worse. Alessia nodded, throat too tight to speak. She dressed quickly, stuffing her things into her bag, trying not to think about how different this felt from yesterday's anticipation. The drive back to the city was silent. Victor kept one hand on her knee, a small anchor, but his eyes stayed fixed on the road. Alessia watched the landscape blur past and tried to prepare herself for what was coming. Judgment, scandal, her name dragged through campus gossip and probably the local news. When they reached the city limits, Victor finally spoke. Whatever they ask you tomorrow, tell the truth. Don't lie for me. Victor, I mean it. I'm the one with power in this situation. I'm your professor. If anyone takes the fall for this, it should be me. That's not fair. Fair stopped mattering the moment that photo went public. He pulled up 3 blocks from her apartment, the same place he'd picked her up. I'll fight for us, for this, but I won't let you sacrifice your future for it. Alessia grabbed his hand, forcing him to look at her. I'm not a child who needs protecting. I made my choice. I'm standing by it. Something in his expression cracked. You're the bravest person I've ever met. Or the stupidest. Both. He kissed her hard and desperate. I'll call you tonight after I've talked to the dean. Promise? Promise. Alessia climbed out of the car and watched him drive away, her heart somewhere in the vicinity of her shoes. Then she turned and walked to her apartment, trying to ignore the stares from neighbors who'd probably already seen the photos. Inside, her phone lit up with messages the moment she turned it on. Jasmine had called 6 more times. Her mother had escalated to threats. And Leo? Leo was waiting in her hallway. He stood as she approached, his face a mess of hurt and fury and something that looked like betrayal. My father? His voice shook. You're sleeping with my father? Alessia's keys bit into her palm. Leo, this isn't what? Exactly what it looks like. Because those photos are pretty clear, Alessia. His hand's on you, the way you're looking at him. His laugh was ugly. How long have you been screwing him? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing, you went from my bed to his pretty damn fast. The accusation stung, even though she knew it wasn't true. You lost the right to judge my choices when you slept with my sister. So this is revenge? You're destroying my family because I made a mistake? Your family? Alessia's temper finally snapped. You mean the family that never once treated me like I mattered? That looked through me at dinners I wasn't invited to? Your father is the only Russo who ever actually saw me. He's 50 years old. I'm aware. This is sick, Alessia. He's using you. He's not using me. And you don't get to decide what's sick or healthy in my relationships. Not anymore. Leo's face went red. Everyone's talking about you, saying you're a homewrecker, that you seduced a professor for grades. I've never gotten special treatment in his class. Ever. That's not how it looks. That's not what people are saying. He moved closer, and Alessia saw genuine pain beneath the anger. I thought you were better than this. Thought you had more self-respect. Self-respect? Alessia laughed bitterly. I had so little self-respect that I stayed with someone who cheated on me for months, who made me feel invisible, who never once chose me over his own convenience. So yeah, maybe sleeping with your father isn't my best decision, but at least he makes me feel like I exist. Maybe, but at least it'll be my regret, my choice. She unlocked her door. Now get out of my hallway. Alessia. We're done, Leo. We've been done. Accept it and move on. She slammed the door in his face and locked it, then slid down to sit on the floor, shaking. Her phone buzzed immediately. Jasmine, are you okay? I'm coming over. Alessia typed back with trembling fingers. I'm fine. I just need to be alone right now. Too bad. I'm already in my car.
Oh.
Despite everything, Alessia smiled. Real friends didn't take no for an answer. 20 minutes later, Jasmine was sitting on her couch with takeout Chinese and a bottle of wine, looking at Alessia with a mix of concern and fascination. So, she said carefully, Victor Russo. Yeah. How long? It's complicated. Alessia, the whole campus has seen you two looking at each other like you're considering arson together. How complicated can it be? Alessia took a long drink of wine and decided she was too tired to lie. I met him the night I caught Leo with Isabella. He was kind when I was falling apart. Then he showed up as my professor, and we tried to stay away from each other, but forbidden professor-student romance is apparently irresistible. It's not like that. Alessia struggled to find words. He sees me, really sees me. And I see him too, past all the age and power and rules, we just fit. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. Do you love him? The question hit Alessia like a physical blow. Did she? Could you love someone after only a few weeks? She thought about Victor's hand, gentle on her face, the way he'd shared his hidden cabin, the fierce protectiveness in his voice when he'd said they'd face this together. Yeah, she whispered. I think I do. Then screw everyone else. Jasmine raised her wine glass. If he makes you happy, if he treats you right, the rest is just noise. The university is going to expel me. They're investigating. So transfer. Finish somewhere else. There are other schools. What about Victor? His career is his problem, not yours. Jasmine's voice was firm. Look, I'm not saying this won't be hard. It's going to be a nightmare. But you're not responsible for fixing everything. You're allowed to choose yourself. To choose what makes you happy, even if it's messy. Alessia felt tears burn her eyes. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just never asked my opinion on forbidden love affairs before. She squeezed Alessia's hand. Whatever happens Monday, I've got your back, okay? Okay. They spent the rest of the evening eating bad Chinese food and watching worse television, carefully not discussing the scandal. But when Jasmine finally left around midnight, Alessia was alone with her thoughts, and the photos that kept circulating online getting worse with each share. Her phone rang. Victor. Hey, she answered. Are you all right? Leo was waiting at my apartment. We fought. Victor swore in Italian. What did he say? That I'm destroying your family. That people are calling me a home wrecker and saying I slept with you for grades. Her voice cracked. He's not wrong about what people are saying. He is wrong about why it happened, about who we are. Victor's voice was rough. I talked to my lawyer. We have options. What kind of options? The kind where I resign before they can fire me. Where you transfer to another university. Where we disappear for a while and let the scandal die down. You'd give up your career? In a heartbeat if it meant protecting you. Alessia's chest went tight. I don't want you to sacrifice everything. Alessia, listen to me. I've had my career for 20 years. It's been rewarding and meaningful and safe. But you... He paused and she heard the emotion he was fighting to control. You make me feel alive for the first time in decades. So if I have to choose between reputation and you, there's no contest. What about Monday? Monday, I meet with the dean and tell him the truth. That we're in a relationship. That it didn't start until after you were my student, but yes, there are feelings involved, and that I'm willing to accept whatever consequences come from that. They'll crucify you. Let them try. His voice went softer. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we fight. Together, Alessia echoed. After they hung up, she tried to sleep but couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that photo, saw the judgment in Leo's face, imagined the dean's disapproval, and her mother's horror. But she also saw Victor's eyes when he looked at her, saw the cabin by the lake, felt the way he touched her like she was something precious. And she realized that whatever came next, scandal, expulsion, her family's rejection, she'd still choose this. Choose him. Choose being seen over being safe. Monday would bring consequences, but tonight she'd made a choice. And for the first time in her life, it was completely her own. Monday morning arrived with all the mercy of a firing squad. Alessia stood outside the Dean of Students' office at 8:45, her coffee cold in her hands, trying to remember how to breathe. Students passed in the hallway, some staring openly, others whispering behind raised hands. She'd become campus entertainment overnight. The door opened and Dean Morrison appeared, her expression professionally neutral in a way that promised nothing good. "Miss Moretti, come in." The office was exactly what Alessia expected. Heavy furniture, diplomas on every wall, the kind of space designed to make students feel small. Dean Morrison settled behind her desk and gestured for Alessia to sit. "I'm sure you know why you're here. The photos." Alessia's voice was steadier than she felt. "The photos and the allegations they've generated." Morrison folded her hands. "I need you to be completely honest with me. Are you involved in a romantic or sexual relationship with Professor Russo?" Alessia had spent all night preparing for this moment. Victor's words echoed in her head. "Tell the truth. Don't lie for me." But sitting here under Morrison's sharp gaze, she understood what truth would cost. "Yes." Morrison's expression didn't change. "How long has this been going on?" "It's complicated. Simple question, Miss Moretti. How long?" Alessia swallowed. "We met a few weeks before I knew he was my professor. Things developed from there. So you're admitting to an inappropriate relationship with a faculty member while enrolled in his course." "It wasn't like that. We tried to keep distance. We tried to stay professional. And yet, photographs exist of you in an intimate embrace outside his office." Morrison pulled out a folder, sliding it across the desk. Inside were printouts of the photo, different angles, timestamps. These were taken by a student who'd gone to Professor Russo's office hours. "She recognized you from class." Of course it was a student, probably one of the girls who'd been crushing on Victor since day one, eager to eliminate competition. "I understand how this looks," Alessia started, "do you? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like a clear violation of university policy. We have strict rules about faculty-student relationships for very good reasons. I know the rules, but there was no quid pro quo. He never gave me special treatment, never graded me differently." "That's not the point." Morrison's voice went sharp. "The point is the inherent power imbalance. Professor Russo holds your academic future in his hands, your grades, your recommendations, your entire educational trajectory. That makes genuine consent questionable at best. I'm 23 years old. I'm capable of making my own choices. Are you? Because the university has a responsibility to protect students from exploitation, and regardless of your age, this situation reeks of it." Alessia felt anger spark beneath her fear. "He didn't exploit me. If anything, I pursued him. That doesn't matter. He's the one with power, with responsibility. He should have shut it down immediately." Morrison leaned back. "I've spoken with Professor Russo this morning. He's been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. And you, Miss Moretti, are being removed from his course effective immediately." The words hit like a slap. "What about my other classes? You may continue attending those while we complete our review. But I'm recommending to the academic board that you be suspended for the remainder of the semester." Suspended for what? Being in a relationship? For violating the code of conduct? For engaging in behavior that compromises academic integrity? Morrison's tone went cold. "And between you and me, for spectacularly poor judgment." Alessia stood, hands shaking. "Is there anything else?" "Yes. Stay away from Professor Russo. No contact of any kind. If I hear you violated that directive, suspension becomes expulsion. Are we clear?" Crystal. She walked out on legs that barely held her, past students who definitely knew who she was now, down hallways that suddenly felt hostile. Her phone buzzed the moment she hit the parking lot. Victor. How did it go? She couldn't answer. Couldn't find words for the humiliation still burning in her chest. Instead, she drove home, ignored 17 calls from her mother, and sat on her apartment floor, staring at nothing. The knock came an hour later. Alessia almost didn't answer, but the knocking persisted. "Alessia, it's me. Open up." Jasmine. Alessia unlocked the door, and Jasmine swept in, took one look at her, and pulled her into a fierce hug. "That bad? Suspended? Maybe expelled. And I'm not allowed to talk to Victor, or they'll make it worse." Jesus. Jasmine steered her to the couch. What did he get? Administrative leave. Investigation. Alessia's laugh was bitter. They think he exploited me, like I'm some helpless kid who couldn't possibly make her own choices. That's bull. That's university policy. Alessia scrubbed at her face. Morrison looked at me like I was dirt, like I'd done something shameful instead of just choosing someone who makes me happy. What are you going to do? Before Alessia could answer, her phone lit up. Her mother again. You should probably take that, Jasmine said quietly. Alessia knew she was right. She'd been avoiding this conversation for days, but it was time to face the music, she answered. Where have you been? Her mother's voice was ice. I've been calling for 3 days. I know. I'm sorry. Sorry? You're sorry? Alessia Marie Moretti, do you have any idea what you've done? The entire family is humiliated. Isabella called me crying because Leo won't speak to her. Your stepfather wants to disown you. And now I'm seeing photos online of you with Victor Russo of all people. Mom, listen. No, you listen. I raised you better than this. I taught you right from wrong, and this is wrong, Alessia. He's Leo's father. He's old enough to be your father. What were you thinking? The criticism she'd been expecting, but it still hurt hearing it from her mother's mouth. I was thinking he treats me like I matter, like I'm worth something. By destroying your reputation, your education? Leo said, the university is investigating, that you might be expelled. Leo needs to mind his own business. He's family, and you broke his heart. He broke mine first. Alessia's control finally snapped. He cheated on me with Isabella for months. Months, Mom. And when I caught them, he didn't even apologize. Just acted like I was inconvenient for showing up. Silence, then quieter. Isabella said it was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? I walked in on them in bed together. How is that a misunderstanding? More silence. Alessia could practically hear her mother recalculating. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? Or would you have taken Isabella's side like always? That's not fair. Isn't it? You've spent 12 years choosing her over me, making excuses for her, letting her treat me like I don't exist, so forgive me if I didn't rush to share my humiliation. Her mother's voice trembled. I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to take my side for once. I want you to believe that I'm capable of making my own choices, even if you don't agree with them. I want. Alessia's throat went tight. I want my mother to love me enough to trust me. I do love you. Then prove it. Stop judging me and just be on my side. The line went quiet for so long Alessia thought she'd hung up. Then I need time to process this, to talk to your stepfather. But Alessia, I do love you, even when I'm angry. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. After they hung up, Alessia sat staring at her phone until Jasmine gently took it away. You okay? I don't know what I am. Alessia leaned back against the couch. Everything's falling apart. Victor's career, my education, my family, and for what? A few weeks of feeling like I matter. Hey, Jasmine's voice went firm. Those few weeks mattered. You mattered. Don't let their judgment make you forget that. Alessia wanted to believe her. But it was hard when the whole world seemed determined to prove her wrong. Her phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown number. This is Victor. They took my phone, but I borrowed one. Are you okay? Alessia's chest squeezed. He was risking more contact when Morrison had explicitly forbidden it. I'm fine. You shouldn't be texting me. I need to know you're safe. I'm safe. Just suspended and possibly expelled. You? On leave with pay during investigation. Could be worse. Alessia hesitated, then typed, I miss you. 3 dots appeared immediately, disappeared, appeared again. I miss you too. This isn't over, I promise. But it felt over. Felt like the world had crashed down on something fragile and beautiful before it had a chance to fully form. The next few days passed in a haze. Alessia avoided campus, ignored most calls, and tried to figure out what came next. Jasmine visited daily, bringing food and moral support, and refusing to let Alessia wallow completely. Wednesday afternoon, there was a knock Alessia didn't recognize. She opened the door to find a man in his 60s, expensive suit, sharp eyes. Miss Moretti, I'm Robert Chen, Professor Russo's attorney. May I come in? Alessia stepped aside, suddenly very aware of her ratty sweatpants and unwashed hair. Chen settled in her living room like he owned it, pulling out a leather folder. Victor asked me to speak with you. He's concerned about the university's investigation and wants to make sure you're protected. Protected how? The university is building a case that portrays Victor as the aggressor, an older professor who took advantage of a vulnerable student. They're going to paint you as a victim. Alessia's stomach turned. I'm not a victim. I know that. Victor knows that. But the university doesn't care about reality. They care about liability. Chen pulled out papers. I need you to walk me through exactly what happened. When you met, how the relationship developed. Any evidence that this was mutual and consensual. For the next shot, Alessia laid out everything. The night in Victor's study, the shock of seeing him as her professor, the careful distance they'd tried to maintain, the moments it slipped, the cab, all of it. Chen took meticulous notes, his expression never changing. Here's the situation, he said finally. The university wants Victor gone. He's tenured, which makes it harder to fire him. But a scandal like this gives them leverage. They're going to argue he violated ethics policies, abused his position, created a hostile learning environment. That's not true. Truth is flexible in these situations. What matters is what they can prove. Chen leaned forward. Victor is willing to resign if it protects you, to take full responsibility, and ensure you can finish your education without this hanging over you. No, the word came out sharp. I'm not letting him sacrifice his career for me. Miss Moratti. He's been teaching for 20 years. That's his whole life. I'm not letting them take that away because we fell in love. Chen's eyebrows rose. Love? Yes, love. Alest met his eyes. Is that so hard to believe? No. Just rare to hear someone your age use that word with such certainty. He closed his folder. If you want to fight this, we can, but it won't be easy. The court of public opinion is vicious, and university politics are worse. You'll be judged, mocked, your name will be attached to this scandal forever. And if Victor resigns, he disappears quietly. You finish school. Everyone moves on, except we lose each other. Yes, Alessia thought about the cabin, about Victor's hands gentle on her face, his voice rough when he said her name, the way he'd looked at her like she was worth burning the world for. I want to fight, she said quietly. If he's willing, I want to fight for this. Chen smiled for the first time.
That's what I was hoping you'd say.
Victor said you were brave. I'm starting to see why he's willing to risk everything. What do? First, we document everything. Every interaction, every grade, every class. We prove there was no favoritism, no quid pro quo. Second, we get character witnesses, professors, students, anyone who can attest to Victor's integrity. Third, he paused. We go public with your side before they can define the narrative. Public how? Interviews, statements, we tell the truth before they can bury you in lies. He stood gathering his papers. Think about it. This gets messy fast. But if you're serious about fighting, I need to know now. Alessia didn't hesitate. I'm serious. Good. I'll be in touch. After he left, Alessia felt something she hadn't in days. Hope, maybe small, maybe foolish, but real. That night, Victor called from yet another borrowed phone. Chen came to see you. He did. We talked strategy. And I told him I want to fight, if you do. Victor was quiet for a moment. Alessia, you don't have to do this. I can resign. Take the hit. You can finish school and move on with your life. Is that what you want, to move on without me? No. But I want you to have options, to not be trapped by this. I'm not trapped. I'm choosing. She gripped the phone tighter. I'm choosing you. I'm choosing us, unless you don't want that. I want it more than I've wanted anything in my life. But I also want you to understand the cost. Your family might never forgive you. Your reputation will be shredded. Opportunities will close. All for a relationship that might not even survive the pressure. So you're saying we might not make it? I'm saying love isn't always enough. Sometimes the world grinds you down until there's nothing left. Alessia felt tears burn. Do you love me? The question hung between them, loaded with everything they hadn't said. Yes. His voice was rough. I love you, even though I shouldn't. Even though it's reckless and dangerous and probably insane. Then fight with me. We don't know if we'll make it, but at least we tried. At least we didn't let them win without a fight. She heard him exhale. You're going to be the death of me, or the life of me. Could go either way. He laughed and it sounded like relief. Okay, we fight. Together. They stayed on the phone for another hour talking about everything and nothing, just needing to hear each other's voices. When they finally hung up, Alessia felt steadier than she had in days. The weekend brought unexpected support. Jasmine posted a thread on social media defending Alessia, calling out the double standard of blaming the woman while giving the man a pass. It went viral, spawning arguments and think pieces, and surprisingly, solidarity from other students who'd faced similar judgment. More unexpected was the email Alessia received Saturday morning from Professor Chen, her British literature teacher. Miss Moretti, I wanted to reach out privately to say that I've known Victor Russo for 15 years. He's one of the most ethical, principled educators I've ever worked with. If he's willing to risk his career for you, I believe you must be extraordinary. I've submitted a statement to the review board attesting to his character. I hope it helps.
Yours, Professor Chen.
Then another from a student Alessia barely knew. I had Russo last semester. He's tough but fair, never showed favoritism. If you two are together, it's because he sees something real in you, not because he's some creep. Don't let them make you feel ashamed. The messages kept coming. Not all supportive. Plenty were vicious, calling her names that made her stomach turn. But enough were kind that Alessia started to believe maybe this wasn't completely hopeless. Monday brought news that changed everything. Alessia was making coffee when her phone rang. Chen, the investigation committee wants to meet with you and Victor together Thursday afternoon. Together? I thought Morrison said no contact. This is official university business. Different rules. They want to hear both sides, ask questions, make their determination. What happens if it goes badly? Victor gets fired. You get expelled. We sue for wrongful termination and possibly win. But it takes years and destroys both of you in the process. And if it goes well, Victor keeps his job with a formal reprimand. You're allowed to finish the semester in his class with oversight. It's not ideal, but it's survivable. Alessia's hands shook. What do I need to do? Be honest. Be calm. Don't apologize for your choices, but acknowledge the complexity. And Alessia, remember, you're not the first student to fall for a professor. The committee has seen this before. What matters is proving it wasn't predatory. It wasn't? Then make them believe that. The next 3 days were torture. Alessia prepared with Chen, rehearsing answers to questions she knew would be invasive and humiliating. She picked out an outfit that looked mature but not provocative. She practiced keeping her voice steady when discussing her relationship. Wednesday night, Victor called. You ready for tomorrow? Terrified. Good. Me too. She heard rustling, like he was pacing. Alessia, if this goes badly, if they decide against us, I need you to know something. What? That this was worth it. You were worth it. Even if we lose everything, I don't regret choosing you. Her throat went tight. I don't regret it either. Whatever happens tomorrow, we walk out of there together. Not as professor and student, as equals, as partners. Deal? Deal. Thursday arrived gray and cold. Alessia met Chen outside the administration building at 2, her stomach a knot of anxiety. Remember, Chen said as they walked in. Calm, honest human. Let them see you're not some manipulative seductress. You're a young woman who fell in love in complicated circumstances. The hearing room was smaller than Alessia expected. A long table with 5 committee members, 3 professors she didn't know, Dean Morrison, and the university president. Victor sat on one side with his own attorney. He looked exhausted, older somehow, but his eyes softened when Alessia entered. Miss Moretti, Professor Russo, thank you for coming. The president gestured to chairs. We've reviewed the evidence, read statements from both sides, and now we'd like to ask some questions. For the next 2 hours, they dissected every moment of Alessia and Victor's relationship. When they'd met, how feelings had developed, whether Victor had ever shown favoritism, whether Alessia had felt pressured, whether their relationship had impacted other students. Some questions were clinical, others felt designed to shame. Miss Moretti, you admit Professor Russo is 27 years your senior. Do you not see how that power imbalance is problematic? Alessia took a breath. Age creates difference, not necessarily imbalance. Victor never used his position to pressure me. If anything, he tried to push me away because of the ethical concerns. I was the one who pursued the relationship. Because you felt indebted to him, grateful for his attention. No, because he's the first person who ever saw me as valuable, not in spite of my flaws, but with them. And you don't think it's concerning that you sought that validation from your professor. I sought it from a man who showed me kindness when I was breaking. The fact that he happened to be my professor complicated things, but it didn't create the feelings. Another committee member leaned forward. Professor Russo, you've been teaching for 20 years without incident. Why risk everything for Miss Moretti? Victor's answer was quiet but firm. Because love doesn't follow convenient timelines. I tried to maintain distance, tried to follow every rule, but Alessia is. He looked at her, and she saw everything he felt reflected in his eyes. Extraordinary. And I'm human enough to choose connection over caution, even knowing the cost, especially knowing the cost. Some things are worth fighting for. The committee exchanged glances. Morrison spoke up. What about the other students in your class? Don't you think your relationship with Miss Moretti creates an unfair environment? I've maintained complete professional distance in class. Alessia received no preferential treatment. Her grades reflect her work, not our relationship. I can provide documentation of every assignment, every grade, every interaction. And you expect us to believe you were able to completely separate personal feelings from professional judgment? No. I expect you to review the evidence and see that I tried. That's all anyone can do. Try to act with integrity even when the situation is complex. The questions continued until Alessia felt wrung out, exhausted from defending choices that felt increasingly under siege. Finally, the president called for a recess. We'll deliberate and inform you of our decision within 48 hours. You're dismissed. Outside, Alessia's legs nearly gave out. Victor caught her elbow, steadying her, and neither of them cared that Morrison was watching. You did great, he murmured. I feel like I got run over. Welcome to academic politics. It's vicious. He led her to his car parked at the far end of the lot. Once inside, he pulled her against him, and Alessia let herself break a little, shaking in his arms. What if they expel me? Then we figure out another path. You transfer. You finish somewhere else. And you? I'll follow you. Simple as that. Alessia pulled back to look at him. You'd leave your job, your whole life here? My job is just a job. He cupped her face. You're everything. And I'm done pretending otherwise. They sat there until the sun started to set, holding each other, waiting for a decision that could change everything. The call came Friday afternoon. Chen delivered the news. The committee decided to issue a formal reprimand to Victor. He keeps his job, but he's prohibited from teaching courses you're enrolled in for the remainder of your academic career. You're allowed to stay, but you're being transferred out of his class immediately. Relief and disappointment warred in Alessia's chest. That's it? We're both staying, with conditions. No public displays, no relationship acknowledgement on campus. Basically, you continue, but pretend you barely know each other until you graduate. Can we do that? You'll have to. It's the compromise they're offering. Take it, or they reopen the investigation. Alessia called Victor. The moment Chen hung up, we won, she said. We survived, he corrected. Winning would have been no consequences, but I'll take survival. So, we hide for the next year and a half. We're careful for the next year and a half. Then you graduate, and we can be as public as we want. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. That weekend, Alessia went to see her mother. They met at a neutral coffee shop, awkward and careful. I'm not expelled, Alessia said without preamble. The university decided to let me stay. Her mother's relief was visible. And Victor? Reprimanded, but still teaching. Are you still? She paused. Are you still together? Yes. Her mother was quiet, stirring her coffee. I don't understand it. I don't think I ever will, but I also don't want to lose you over it. I'm not asking you to understand, just to accept that I'm happy. Are you happy? Alessia thought about Victor's hands, gentle on her face, his voice rough when he said he loved her, the way he'd fought for her even when it cost him everything. Yeah, I am. Her mother nodded slowly. Then I'll try. I can't promise I'll be perfect at it, but I'll try. It was more than Alessia had expected, maybe more than she deserved. They finished their coffee talking about safe things, classes, weather, anything but the scandal. When they parted, her mother hugged her, brief but real. I do love you, Alessia, even when I'm terrible at showing it. I know, Mom. I love you too. Walking back to her car, Alessia felt something shift. Not everything was fixed. Her relationship with Isabella was probably destroyed forever. Leo still wasn't speaking to her. The campus still whispered when she walked by. But she had Victor, had Jasmine, had her mother trying, however imperfectly. Had a future that was hers to build. Her phone buzzed. Victor, dinner tonight. My place. I'll cook. She smiled. Your place has too many memories of Leo. Come to mine. I'll order pizza. Deal. 7. Alessia drove home as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. More whispers, more judgment, more careful navigation of a relationship the world wanted them to hide. But tonight, she'd have Victor's arms around her and pizza that was probably terrible, and the quiet certainty that she'd chosen right, even if the whole world disagreed. The pizza was cold by the time Victor arrived at 7:30, but Alessia didn't care. She opened the door to find him standing there with wine and exhaustion written all over his face, and she pulled him inside without a word. They didn't talk at first, just held each other in her tiny hallway like survivors of a shipwreck finally reaching shore. When Victor finally pulled back, his smile was crooked. "So, we made it. Barely." Alessia led him to the couch. "I still can't believe they let us both stay. Chen's a miracle worker, and the fact that your grades were actually better than average in my class helped." He uncorked the wine, pouring 2 glasses. No favoritism is harder to argue when the evidence contradicts it. "What happens now? We just pretend for a year and a half? We're careful for a year and a half. Different thing." Victor settled beside her, close, but not touching in a way that already felt wrong. "I can't be seen with you on campus, can't acknowledge you in public. But here," he gestured her apartment, "here, we're just us. Alessia hated it, but understood. They'd been given a second chance. Pushing boundaries now would destroy everything. "My mother wants to meet you," she said. Victor nearly choked on his wine. "I'm sorry, what?" "She called this morning, said if we're serious, she should at least meet the man her daughter is risking everything for." Alessia smiled at his expression. "You look terrified." "I am terrified. Your mother is going to take one look at me and see exactly what I am. A man old enough to be your father who should know better. She already knows that, but she's trying, which is more than I expected. When does she want to meet?" "Next Sunday, lunch. Somewhere public so she feels safe and we can't murder each other." Victor laughed despite himself. "This is going to be a disaster, probably, but we've survived worse." They spent the evening eating cold pizza and planning how to navigate the next 18 months. Victor would finish the semester teaching other courses. Alessia would transfer to Professor Morrison's literature section and keep her head down. They'd see each other off campus, always careful, always watching for cameras or students who might recognize them. "It's not romantic," Alessia said, curled against his side. "All this hiding." "No, but it's smart. And when you graduate," Victor tilted her face up, "when you graduate, we can be as public as we want. I'll take you to faculty dinners, introduce you as my partner. Hell, I'll take out a billboard if you want. I might hold you to that. Please do." They made love that night with a desperation that had nothing to do with passion and nothing to do with relief. They'd survived. They'd fought and won, however narrowly, and now they had to prove it was worth it. The following weeks fell into a careful rhythm. Alessia threw herself into her remaining classes, determined to prove she'd earned her place without Victor's influence. She aced every exam, turned in papers early, and slowly the whispers started to fade as newer scandals took their place. Jasmine became her anchor, showing up with coffee and sanity whenever Alessia needed it. They'd started attending the writing workshop together, and Alessia discovered she was actually good at it. The stories she wrote were raw and honest, drawing from her own messy life, and the feedback was better than she'd hoped. "You should submit this," Jasmine said, one Wednesday after workshop, holding Alessia's latest piece. "There's a campus literary magazine. They're always looking for new voices. It's too personal. That's what makes it good. It's real." Jasmine pushed the paper back. "Stop hiding. You've already survived the worst scandal campus has seen in years. Might as well own it." Alessia submitted the story that night, half hoping it would be rejected so she wouldn't have to face more judgment. Instead, she got an email 2 weeks later accepting it for publication. Victor took her to dinner at a restaurant 40 miles outside the city to celebrate, somewhere no one would recognize them. Over wine and pasta, he couldn't stop grinning. "Published. My brilliant writer. It's just a campus magazine. It's a start, and you earned it." He reached across the table, threading his fingers through hers. "I'm proud of you." The words hit harder than they should have. Leo had never been proud of her, had barely noticed her accomplishments, but Victor saw everything, every success, every risk, every moment she chose bravery over safety. "I love you," she said, and meant it more than she'd ever meant anything. "I love you too, even when you give me heart attacks, submitting stories about our relationship." Alessia laughed. "I changed the names and some details. It's fiction." "Barely," he was still smiling. "Just warn me next time before you immortalize our scandal in print." November brought unexpected complications. Alessia was leaving the library one evening when she ran into Leo. She hadn't seen him since their confrontation in her hallway, and he looked different, thinner, tired. Alessia, wait. Every instinct screamed to keep walking, but something in his voice made her stop. What do you want? Leo rubbed his face, to apologize, properly, not the half-assed attempt I made before. I'm listening. I was a terrible boyfriend, took you for granted. Made you feel invisible because I was too soft to see what I had. He met her eyes. Isabella had told me everything. How long it had been going on. How she basically seduced me to hurt you. And I let her. I let her use me because I was too much of a coward to break up with you properly. Alessia's chest tightened. Why are you telling me this now? Because I've been watching you, seeing how happy you are with my dad, and I realized you were never the problem. I was. He shoved his hands in his pockets. You deserve better than me. You deserve better than this whole mess. But for what it's worth, I'm sorry. And I'm glad you found someone who actually sees you. It was the last thing Alessia expected. Are you okay? Not really, but I'm working on it. Therapy helps. His smile was self-deprecating. Turns out I have some issues to unpack. Don't we all? Yeah. He started to walk away, then turned back. Alessia, be careful with him. Not because I don't trust him. I do. But because people are still watching, still waiting for you to fail. I know. Good. Then good luck with everything. He walked away, and Alessia stood there processing the strangest conversation she'd had in months. Leo apologizing, acknowledging his failures, wishing her well. Maybe people could change after all. That Sunday, Alessia and Victor met her mother at a restaurant downtown. Alessia arrived first, her stomach in knots, and found her mother already seated. You're early. Couldn't wait any longer. Too nervous. Her mother smiled weakly. Where is he? Parking. He's nervous, too. Good. He should be. When Victor arrived, Alessia watched her mother take him in. The expensive clothes that couldn't hide his age. The confident bearing that came from years of commanding classrooms. The way his eyes immediately found Alessia and softened. Mrs. Moretti, thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Her mother shook his offered hand. Call me Diana, and I didn't agree so much as demand. If my daughter is risking everything for you, I want to know why. They sat, and the waiter appeared with menus no one looked at. The silence stretched awkward and heavy until Diana finally spoke. You're older than me by 3 years. Yes. And you teach at the university where my daughter is a student. I do, though Alessia is no longer in any of my courses. Because you got caught. Diana's voice was sharp, not because you were being responsible. Victor didn't flinch. You're right. We weren't careful enough. And yes, getting caught forced changes we should have made voluntarily. But I won't apologize for loving your daughter. Even though it could have destroyed her education. Especially because of that. Because she chose me knowing the cost. Because she's braver than anyone gives her credit for. Diana studied him for a long moment. What are your intentions? Alessia choked on her water. Mom, this isn't 1950. I'm asking a legitimate question. Is this a fling? An older man's midlife crisis, or something real? Victor's gaze didn't waver. I intend to marry your daughter when she's ready, to build a life with her, to support her dreams and growth in whatever path she chooses. And yes, I know the age gap raises questions, but I've never been more certain of anything. The restaurant noise faded to background static. Alessia stared at Victor, her heart somewhere in her throat. You want to marry me. Eventually, when you're ready, when it won't look like I'm rushing you, he took her hand. But yes, absolutely yes. Her mother's expression softened fractionally. At least you're honest. Delusional but honest. I prefer determined. You'd have to be. The world won't be kind to you two. The world hasn't been kind so far. We've survived. Diana was quiet, studying them both. Finally, she sighed. Alessia, can you give us a moment? Alessia looked between them, torn, but Victor nodded slightly, and she stood, walking to the bathroom with her pulse racing. In her absence, Diana leaned forward. I need to know you won't hurt her. That this isn't some power trip or delayed rebellion. It's not. Then what is it? Victor considered his words carefully. I spent 20 years following every rule, being the good son, the dutiful husband, the respected professor, and I was miserable, not dramatically, just quietly, constantly empty. Then Alessia walked into my life and reminded me what it felt like to be seen, really seen. Not for what I could provide or the position I held, but for who I actually am. That's a lot of pressure to put on a 23-year-old. She's stronger than you think. Stronger than I am, honestly. I know my daughter is strong. I also know she's been looking for validation her whole life. First from me, then from Leo, now from you. What happens when the novelty wears off? I don't know. Maybe we fall apart. Maybe the age gap becomes insurmountable. Maybe the scandal follows us forever and we crack under it. Victor's voice was honest, raw, but I'd rather risk that than spend the rest of my life wondering what if. And I hope, Alessia feels the same. Diana was quiet for a beat. She published a story in the campus magazine. Did she tell you? She did. It's brilliant. It's about you. About choosing love over safety. Diana's eyes were wet. I read it and realized I've been so focused on protecting her from pain that I forgot to encourage her joy. She's happy with you. Actually happy. I haven't seen that in years. She's extraordinary. Yes, she is. Diana straightened, which is why if you hurt her, if you let her down or make her feel small the way Leo did, I will make it my life's mission to destroy you. Are we clear? Victor smiled. Crystal. And for what it's worth, I'd expect nothing less. Alessia returned to find them talking easily about literature. The tension visibly eased. The rest of lunch was almost normal. Diana asking about Victor's research, him inquiring about her work as a real estate agent. All of them carefully avoiding the scandal. As they walked to their cars, Diana pulled Alessia aside. He loves you, really loves you. I know. And you love him? Yes. Her mother nodded slowly. Then I'm not going to stand in your way. I don't understand it. I probably never will. But I see that you're happy, and that's what matters. Alessia hugged her, unexpected tears burning. Thank you. Just be careful and call me more often. I want to be part of your life, even the complicated parts. I will. I promise. Driving away, Victor glanced at Alessia. That went better than expected. She threatened to destroy you if you hurt me. I heard. I like her. Alessia laughed, the sound surprised out of her. Maybe this could work. Maybe they could build something real from the wreckage. Winter semester brought new challenges. A student in one of Victor's classes filed a complaint alleging bias, claiming he favored young women. The investigation went nowhere. His grading was meticulous and fair, but it rattled them both. The reminder that they were being watched, judged, measured against impossible standards. I'm thinking about retiring, Victor said one night in February, lying in Alessia's bed. At the end of this academic year, Alessia propped herself up. What? Why? Because I'm tired of walking on eggshells, tired of watching every word, every grade, every interaction. And because he pulled her close, because I want to be with you openly without worrying that some student with an axe to grind will try to destroy my career. But you love teaching. I do, but I love you more. And there are other ways to teach. Consulting, writing, guest lectures. He brushed hair from her face. I've done this for 20 years. Maybe it's time for something new. Don't make this decision because of me. I'm making it because of us. Because I want a future where we're not hiding. Where I can take you to dinner without driving 40 miles. Where you don't have to pretend we barely know each other. Alessia's throat went tight. When would you leave? June, after you finished your junior year. Then we could travel for the summer. Europe, maybe. Come back in the fall and figure out what's next. What about money? I have savings, investments, and I've been offered a book deal, an analysis of contemporary literature. I could write. You could finish your degree. We could build something that's ours. It was terrifying and thrilling in equal measure. You're really serious about this? Completely. But only if you want it, too. Alessia thought about another year and a half of hiding, of careful distances and stolen moments, of always looking over her shoulder. Then she thought about freedom, about choosing their own path. Yes, let's do it. The decision made, things moved quickly. Victor submitted his retirement notice in March, citing personal reasons. The university accepted without much fuss. They'd probably been hoping he'd leave after the scandal anyway. Alessia threw herself into finishing her junior year strong, determined to prove she'd earned her place. Her grades were the highest they'd ever been, and she'd started submitting stories to magazines outside campus, building a portfolio. April brought unexpected news, Isabella called. Alessia almost didn't answer, but curiosity won out. What do you want? To talk. In person. I know you don't owe me anything, but please, just coffee. Against her better judgment, Alessia agreed. They met at a neutral cafe, both wary. Isabella looked different, thinner, less polished. The triumphant cruelty Alessia remembered was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like regret. I'm sorry, Isabella said without preamble. For everything. Leo, the photos, all of it. Alessia's defenses went up immediately. Why now? Because I've been in therapy, working through why I do the things I do. And my therapist made me realize I've spent my whole life punishing you for existing. That's one way to put it. I was jealous. Isabella's voice cracked. You had mom's full attention until I came along, and even after, you had this goodness I could never touch. You were kind and genuine, and people actually liked you, not just what you could do for them. So you slept with my boyfriend to punish me for being nice? I slept with Leo because hurting you was the only way I felt powerful, because seeing you suffer meant I mattered. Isabella wiped at her eyes. I know that's sick. I know there's no excuse, but I'm trying to be better. And part of that is owning what I did and apologizing. Alessia didn't know what to say. Years of cruelty couldn't be erased with one apology. But seeing Isabella crack, seeing genuine remorse, it was something. I don't forgive you, Alessia said finally. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I appreciate you being honest. That's more than I deserve. Isabella stood. I hope you're happy with Victor. Despite everything, I hope you found something real. I did. Good. You deserve it. She left and Alessia sat there, processing the strangest 6 months of her life. Leologizing, his mother accepting, Isabella crumbling. It was like the universe had decided to rewrite every broken relationship all at once. That night she told Victor about it. People surprise you, he said. Sometimes they grow up, sometimes they get worse. You never know. Do you think she meant it? The apology. Does it matter? You don't have to forgive her to move forward. I know, but part of me wants to believe people can change. Then believe it. Just don't let her hurt you again in the process. May arrived with final exams and papers, and the countdown to summer. Victor's last day teaching was bittersweet. Students who'd learned from him over the years stopped by to say goodbye, bringing cards and small gifts. Alessius watched from a distance, proud and sad in equal measure. His retirement party was small, just close colleagues who'd supported him through the scandal. Professor Chen made a toast that brought tears to Victor's eyes. To a man who chose love over convenience, who proved that integrity matters more than reputation, who taught us all what it means to be brave. They raised their glasses, and Alessia, allowed to attend as Victor was no longer faculty, felt something shift. They'd made it. They'd survived, and now they got to build something new. June brought graduation for the seniors and freedom for Victor. They spent the first week after his retirement sleeping in, making lazy breakfasts, planning their summer trip. Alessia had 1 year left, but suddenly it felt manageable, lighter. The trip to Europe was everything they'd hoped. 3 months wandering through Italy and France and Spain, eating good food and staying in small hotels and pretending the scandal had never happened. Alessia wrote in cafes while Victor researched his book. They argued about art and literature and the best wine regions. They made love in cities whose names Alessia could barely pronounce. It was the freest she'd ever felt. They returned in September, tanned and happy, ready to face whatever came next. Alessia started her senior year with renewed focus. Victor began writing in earnest, his book taking shape faster than expected, and slowly, carefully, they stopped hiding. It started small, holding hands on walks far from campus, then dinner at restaurants in town. By October, they were attending gallery openings and lectures together, letting people draw their own conclusions. The whispers followed them everywhere, but Alessia was learning not to care. She'd survived the worst of it. Anything else was just noise. December brought an unexpected letter. The university was launching an anonymous survey about student-faculty relationships and appropriate boundaries. It included questions clearly designed around Alessia and Victor's situation. They're trying to change policy because of us, Victor said, reading over her shoulder. Is that bad? No, it's actually good. Means future students won't face what you did. Better guidelines, clearer rules. Alessia thought about that, about being the cautionary tale that made things better for others. I can live with that. As Christmas approached, Victor became increasingly nervous. Alessia couldn't figure out why until he sat her down one night with wine and visible anxiety. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Her stomach flipped. Okay, we've been together almost a year, survived a scandal, my retirement, your mother's judgment, all of it. And every single day, I'm more certain that you're it for me, the person I want to wake up next to, argue with about book recommendations, grow old with. He took her hands. So, I'm asking, Will you marry me? Not today. Not even this year, but eventually, when you're ready, will you marry me? Alessia's breath caught. You're proposing? I'm pre-proposing. Asking if you'd be open to the idea so I know whether to actually buy a ring or just enjoy what we have now. She laughed through sudden tears. You're ridiculous. Is that a yes? Yes. Eventually, when I'm ready. Yes, I want to marry you. His relief was visible. Thank God. I've been panicking for weeks. But why were you panicking? Because you're 24 and I'm 51. And there's a voice in my head that keeps saying you'll wake up one day and realize you could have anyone. Someone younger, easier, without all my baggage. Alessia cupped his face. I don't want easier. I want you. All your baggage, all your complications, all of it. He kissed her like she was oxygen, and Alessia kissed back, certain and unafraid. The actual proposal came in March on a weekend trip back to the cabin. They'd spent the day hiking, and as the sun set over the lake, Victor dropped to one knee with a ring that was simple and perfect. Alessia Moretti, you walked into my life, broken and beautiful and completely unexpected. You challenged me, changed me, made me brave enough to choose happiness over safety. Will you marry me for real this time? Yes, absolutely, yes. They set the wedding for August after Alessia's graduation. Small and private, just family and close friends. Her mother cried. Jasmine was maid of honor. Even Leo showed up, sober and subdued, offering genuine congratulations. Isabella sent a card but didn't attend. Alessia was grateful for the boundary. The ceremony was in a garden outside the city, intimate and honest. When Victor slid the ring onto Alessia's finger and kissed her as his wife, Alessia felt everything click into place. All the scandal, all the judgment, all the pain. It had led here, to this moment, to this man, to this life she'd chosen despite everything. At the reception, her mother pulled her aside. You look happy. I am. Really, truly happy. Then I'm happy for you. Diana hugged her tight. I'm sorry I made it harder than it needed to be. You were protecting me. I get it. Still, you knew what you wanted. I should have trusted that. They stood together watching Victor talk with Professor Chen, both men laughing at some private joke. He's good for you, Diana said finally. I see that now. Yeah, he is. Alessia graduated that May with honors. Her thesis on forbidden narratives and contemporary literature earning distinction. Victor sat in the audience beaming, and when she crossed the stage, the applause was genuine. Not everyone had forgiven her, but enough had moved on that it didn't matter. After graduation, they made the decision together. Victor had been offered a position at a small liberal arts college, 3 hours north, teaching 2 seminars per semester, minimal administrative work, complete autonomy. Alessia had been accepted to their MFA program in creative writing. They'd start fresh, new city, new opportunities, new life. The move happened in June. They bought a house near campus. Nothing fancy, just 2 bedrooms and a yard where they could drink coffee in the mornings. Alessia set up a writing space in the spare room. Victor lined the walls with books. It was home. That summer, Alessia's first story collection was accepted for publication by a small press. Victor's book came out to solid reviews. They attended launch events together, Victor introducing her as his wife with visible pride. The past stopped mattering quite so much. Years passed faster than Alessia expected. She got her MFA and started teaching composition while working on her novel. Victor published 2 more books and developed a reputation as a brilliant, if unconventional scholar. They traveled when they could, always coming back to the house they'd made home. Alessia's relationship with her mother deepened, weekly calls becoming monthly visits. Isabella sent occasional emails, updates on her therapy, her new job, careful attempts at rebuilding. Alessia responded kindly, but kept her distance. Some wounds healed, others just scarred over. Leo married someone age-appropriate and seemed genuinely happy. They ran into him at a conference once, and the encounter was surprisingly pleasant. He'd grown up, so had they all. On their 5th anniversary, sitting on the porch of the cabin where everything had started, Victor asked Alessia if she had any regrets. She thought about it honestly, about the scandal that had nearly destroyed them, about the judgment that still occasionally surfaced, about everything they'd lost and gained. No, she said finally. No regrets. You? Only that I didn't meet you sooner. You would have been my professor when I was 18. That would have been worse. Fair point. He pulled her closer. Think we'll make it another 5 years? At least. Probably 50 if we're lucky. 50 years with you sounds perfect. They sat watching the sun set over water that looked like glass, the same view that had witnessed their beginning. Alessia thought about the girl who'd stumbled into Victor's study that night. Broken, invisible, desperate to be seen. She barely recognized her. That girl had become a woman who chose herself, who wrote stories people read, who married for love despite the cost, who built a life that was messy and imperfect and completely, utterly real. Victor's hand found hers in the growing dark, and Alessia squeezed back, a promise and a reminder they'd made it. Against all odds, against every judgment, against the whole world's conviction that they were wrong, they'd made it. And that, Alessia thought, was worth every scandal, every whisper, every moment of doubt, because in the end, being seen, really truly seen, was worth it.